Okay, so first there was Divergent, which, unlike some people, I actually really enjoyed that movie. Then there was Insurgent, which it was okay, I guess. And then now there's Allegiant. And to be perfectly honest, as this movie was starting and it was going on, I actually liked it at first. Now, the whole thing with this whole trilogy is I actually really like the overall concept of the entire movie trilogy. This whole idea of separating people into these separate factions based on their personalities and their DNA and all that sort of stuff, and how shun people that don't fit into your group, and there's all these cool little concepts to the movie, but they just never really fully pull it off the way I really want them to. Now, I never read the books. I've heard this movie they completely changed, and I looked into the Wikipedia page. I'm sure that's really reliable. But I did look into how that movie ended compared to this one, and it's completely different. And I really didn't like the way this movie ended, which was a big problem. There's just so many plot holes in this movie. There's so many actions characters take that then they do something else, and it completely just goes against what their character is supposed to be. It doesn't make any sense. And if you want, actually, you know what? After I give my rating to this movie, I'm going to do a little bit of spoilers. You can wait to see that till after you see this movie. I'm going to go into a little bit of why there's some plot holes and some things I don't get. But ultimately, the acting is fine. It's nothing stellar. It's nothing crazy. It's just they have good actors in this movie. They got Miles Teller, Jeff Daniels, etc. But it all felt like they were here because they felt obligated to be, or they were on a contract, or they got a big paycheck. And they weren't necessarily phoning it in, but it just didn't feel like they were super connected to the material, which makes you not really connected to the movie. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people, and there's a few actors in this movie, like the girl who plays the main girl's brother. I think it's supposed to be kind of his personality in the movie, where he's so smart, he's kind of disconnected from people and doesn't have sympathy, kind of. But he just comes off very robotic, and just kind of, his acting is kind of flat. Again, that may just be the way the character's supposed to be, but I didn't buy it. Also, they try so hard to have this futuristic world at one point when they leave the wall of this movie and they go and find these other people, and some of it's kind of cool, these elevators that kind of float around and whatever. But there's so many green screen issues with this movie. I mean, I have about as good of green screen. Why can't I fucking talk? I have about as good of green screen as they had in this movie. I don't know how many times they kind of like popped up, and it just felt like this really fake background, like the lighting didn't match up or something. The green screen in a few scenes in this movie were just really painfully bad, which just makes you disconnect from the movie, and it's like, it just pulls you away. And so there's so many little issues like that kind of compound on each other throughout this movie that on their own, if they were the only mistake, I could forgive it. But there's so many little issues, plot holes, green screen issues, the ending to the movie. It just kind of, in the end, just makes me feel like this movie is a one-night stand. You will enjoy this movie. It's a little bit entertaining, but ultimately you're going to forget about it because it's not that great of a movie. So now I'm going to talk about a little bit of spoilers from this movie. Please only watch this if you've actually seen the movie or if you just don't care about spoilers. But that's your warning. Whatever, don't yell at me for doing this. Alright, so in this movie, at the end, they kind of show you that Jeff Daniels' character basically has control of this city of Chicago the entire time, right? He can basically control every little door and switch, and he's stopping Shailene Woodley from doing whatever she's doing. He's like, I got control of this whole thing. But then that makes no sense because he had to send Miles Teller in to convince this girl to unleash this memory loss serum. Why didn't he just do it from his little compound? He could have done that at any point when he decided he was going to do that. Just be like, you know what, fucking boop, snap his fingers, push his little button, whatever, everyone forgets everything, and he would have had no issues. So why didn't he do that? Like, what was the point of, I'm going to, blackmail this guy or bribe this kid to go convince her to do it? And it was just, that was kind of stupid. And then they build this whole emotional thing with them kidnapping kids and giving them memory loss so they can raise them in this area, which they never really fully explained why they did that. They just kind of did. It didn't really make any sense, but then at the end of the movie, they just freaking bomb the place. What the fuck? Like, they're just like, yeah, we're going to send a surprise to that city. And you see this. It's like, okay, but there was only really one guy there that you guys didn't like. Jeff Daniels' character. So they just bombed everyone else. They had no connection with anyone else in there. All these little kids. They just freaking killed everybody. What the fuck? Like, that makes no sense. And that's not what happened in the book from what I read. In the book, the main character dies and there's all this other stuff that happens and it's completely different. But it was so bad because it was obvious at the end of the movie they wanted to leave it open for a sequel. They showed Jeff Daniels' character there still monitoring her, like, oh, they didn't kill him and she didn't die, and it didn't really close out. The movie didn't really end. It just kind of ended, but it didn't end. It didn't have a conclusion. And I could probably go on and on if I really thought about it, but I really don't want to talk about this movie anymore. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you've read the books, I would love for you to comment below and let me know what was better, the books or the movies, and why. And if you haven't read the books, just let me know what you thought of this movie and if you agree with me or not. And if you're not familiar with my rating system, please click the I above to watch my movie ratings video. And stick around after this if you want to see some more movie reviews, if you can handle it. Go.